Why can you give somebody in an ER setting who comes in and is suicidal? So not just mild, moderate depression, suicidal. And why do the suicidal thoughts in most patients go away after one treatment of ketamine, one dose of ketamine within 4 hours?
Is ketamine changing the face of mental health?
1000%. I think ketamine is the biggest miracle, the biggest game-changing drug, or as we say in psychedelics, the best medicine since the introduction of the SSRIs in the 80s, which I think at the time were promised to be like, oh, this is gonna cure you. This is gonna be everything you've ever wanted, right? And now I can tell you here in 2022, and SSRIs and SNRIs are still very, very popular. You know, about 1 in 4 moms in the US are on them, about 1 in 10 general population of adults. But ketamine does the things that I think initially the SSRIs were promised to do. I know your audience is gonna love this. It's how you think, it's how I think. It's a root cause oriented medicine that instead of medicating the symptoms on the top in a medicine that you have to take every day, it's something that you can, after you go through a series of treatments, do once a quarter, you know? So I like to say, you know, at the beginning of every season, I like to do my own ketamine-assisted psychotherapy session. I can feel the afterglow in my brain. My brain feels brighter. For people with brain fog, whether it's mold or chronic Lyme or COVID, post-COVID syndrome, it brightens the brain. It does so many things. So I think this is truly a game changer in mental health. It's what we've been waiting for.
And to think that SSRIs were the rage in the 80s, right? Everyone was like, this is the cure for mental health. But what we see is that not only are they're not made for long term, they don't help a lot of people. They don't work on everyone. So to think that finally on the forefront is this new type of medicine that has been out for a while, but really coming to pop culture in many ways, because I'm hearing it, I'm hearing whispers over here, I'm hearing whispers over there. But how is ketamine helping? What is it doing in the brain? What's happening that it's changing the face of our mental health versus SSRIs? What's happening? What's the difference?
It's so multifaceted, right? So initially it was discovered in Detroit, Michigan. It's been around for, I think, I'm bad at math, 60 years now or so. But since 2000, they've been studying as this antidepressant. And they're asking the question, why? Why can you give somebody in an ER setting who comes in and is suicidal? So not just mild, moderate depression, suicidal. And why do the suicidal thoughts in most patients go away after one treatment of ketamine, one dose of ketamine within 4 hours? Why is that, right? So ketamine is so interesting because it's multifaceted. The old theory that's been around for decades is, well, you just have these dials, right? Like if you have depression, maybe it's low dopamine. If it's OCD or anxiety, maybe it's low serotonin or low GABA. And if you just sort of like play with the dials, then you're gonna be cured. And that's sort of the old theory. And there's something to that, and I'm not saying that that doesn't work, because ketamine does that too. So ketamine, the primary neurotransmitter it works on is glutamate, which is sort of the juice of the brain. And then there are all these great downstream effects. So it doesn't just target glutamate, it also leads to a rapid increase of dopamine. It then has these downstream effects that eventually lead to improvements in your serotonin levels, in your GABA levels. So it's doing all of the things that the old antidepressants do. But then this is where I get really excited. It also is a potent anti-inflammatory agent in the brain. So a lot of the root causes of all mental illnesses is inflammation. So if you have an hsCRP, a C-reactive protein rating of more than 1 and you have systemic inflammation, that inflammation is probably happening in your brain. Ketamine can bring that down. Ketamine boosts BDNF profoundly. So this brain-derived neurotrophic factor that is the miracle grow for your brain. So a lot of depression, anxiety, OCD, you name the mental illness, it's also associated with brain atrophy. You know, your brain's getting smaller, mine's getting smaller because we're aging, we're all aging. But if you're eating that American diet, if you're stressed out all the time, it's shrinking more rapidly. And how cool that ketamine can actually help your brain to make new connections. And it's part of the reason why I think a lot of people say it's sort of like a reset for your brain. You're sort of stepping out of your usual cycle of this hedonistic, chasing the dopamine, you know, the ego and all the things that I want. And it allows you to sort of just have this reset, but then you're also given this I often tell my patients it's like Play-Doh, right? It's like, here's this new brain, so what are you going to do with it? And that's why some of the psychotherapy and the way we integrate at Field Trip, which is where I practice ketamine-assisted therapy, the therapy is just as important as the medicine, because these people have these incredible aha moments. They're sobbing. They have these tears of joy, tears of relief. They experience something that is profound in terms of their childhood experience. It allows trauma to be reprocessed in a really full way to sort of turn down the overactive amygdala, the smoke detector of the brain. So to me, it's really exciting because it's allowing people. Oh, it's also an empathogen. So like MDMA, not quite as strong as MDMA, but it does sort of open your heart. So it allows you to then put down your defenses. It's an ego killer in a good way, right? At the medium or the high dose sessions in ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, the range is very wide, unlike the IV ketamine clinic model, which is just using it as a medicine without therapy, and they sort of dose you based on your weight. We really dose you more. I mean, we take your weight into consideration, but we're dosing you more on your personality, what you're trying to achieve, your experience with psychedelics. So yeah, that's why I'm a ketamine nut.
I love that. I love that. And I can hear the passion coming out. And this is why I wanted to have you on the show, because I know how much you love and express this stuff. To think, what is the role then of glutamate? Why is glutamate so important versus, okay, let's just give you this SSRI, let's get up that serotonin, like the dials, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Let's bring up the dopamine. Let's bring down all of the norepinephrine, for example.
Yeah.
It's connecting to glutamate receptors in our brain. And is it causing new connections in our brain? Is that what's happening?
It's doing a lot of things. First, I think we're still studying the why, but we now think that the glutamate system is more central to mood than the serotonin system. So a lot of researchers and doctors around the world have been saying, maybe we were on the wrong system the whole time, because we're certainly seeing more profound effects. Ketamine works even in treatment-resistant depression on patients who've tried 18 different antidepressants. Nothing worked. This works fast. That's the other thing. It works. What do we have in mental health? When somebody's in a depressive episode, they're struggling, they're suffering, they're in this dark hole. Ketamine is one of the only things that works fast, right? Can you imagine being in that depressive episode, or a brain fog, mold, and maybe you have some anxiety and depression with it, and they're like, well, try therapy, I love therapy. Of course, I do a lot of standard therapy also, but it's. Can you imagine just saying, well, wait a month? It's like, I have to suffer for a month? So we think it's the downstream effects. It's interesting. Glutamate is the juice of the brain. It's this excitatory neurotransmitter, and we're still trying to figure out how exactly do these downstream effects lead to so many changes in other neurotransmitters. But it is all those things. It's more connections. Ketamine, we use it. It's not a classical psychedelic, but it has these very psychedelic-like qualities. It turns off, like psilocybin or LSD. It sort of deactivates the default mode network, which is, aptly named because it's what your brain defaults to when you're not doing anything. But we know that people who ruminate a lot and therefore have a lot of depression, they have a very overactive default mode network. They're always thinking about me, like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And then they're dwelling on things and they get stuck in that loop. Ketamine just turns it off. You have this sense of oneness with the universe. So I think it's some of the biochemical effects with the spiritual and the psychological effects. That's why it's brain magic, in my opinion.
Brain magic is the word. Ketamine is brain magic.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. And so thank you for explaining the difference between really glutamate and how science is shifting their magnifying glass and going, wait, it might be that glutamate is playing a major role in all of this. So our partner Athletic Greens has a product that I use literally every single day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy. And now it's been about 6 months and I love it. Here's why. Athletic Greens doesn't taste super healthy. What I mean by that is it doesn't have that earthy, grassy taste that really puts you in an averse mood to be drinking green drinks, but actually has a mild tropical taste that I look forward to tasting every single morning. So what is in Athletic Greens? 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you get your day started right. Now, the thing about Athletic Greens is it's got less than a gram of sugar, but it tastes really good, right? No GMOs, No nasty chemicals, artificial anything. And when you look at the back of the label, you'll see natural flavors. Now, this isn't synthetic. They're utilizing pineapple and vanilla flavoring to give that really pleasant taste behind the green powder. Now, what does it do? It helps support sleep quality, recovery, mental clarity, and alertness. AG1 is a small micro habit, and it's got big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. And you know, here at Heal Thyself, I only partner with companies that I truly believe in. Athletic Greens is one of them, and they're a great company, and they're focused on sustainability. For one, they're climate neutral certified. In 2020, they purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests. Additionally, for every purchase that you donate, you're going to help organizations get nutritious foods to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry. Here in the United States, and in 2020, Athletic Greens donated over 1.2 million meals to children. Now, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is go to athleticgreens.com/healthyself. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/healthyself to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So with the current state of our climate, I've been looking for a way to offset my personal carbon footprint. But I had no clue where to start until I found Ren, W-R-E-N. Ren is a startup making it easy for everyone to make a meaningful difference in the climate crisis that we're going through. Ren is a website focused on monthly subscriptions where you can calculate your carbon footprint based on lifestyle. Then offset it by supporting awesome climate projects that plant trees, protect rainforests, and remove carbon dioxide from the sky. Their goal is to unlock the collective action of millions of us, right? Us, the individual, to drive systemic change needed to end climate crisis. So by signing up for Ren, it's an easy way to do something meaningful about the climate crisis. One thing I love is Ren practices hyper-transparency. Once you sign up, you make a monthly contribution to offset your carbon footprint. You're going to receive monthly updates about tree planting, rainforest protection, and carbon removal projects that you're funding. So you can see the exact coordinates of the trees that you planted. Because climate crisis is a collective crisis that we're all going through, it takes us doing our part to end it. So do your part and sign up for Ren. Go to wren.co, ren.co/healthyself, sign up, and they're going to plant 10 extra trees in your name. That's wren.co/healthyself, and start making a difference. Thank you, Ren. Ketamine is administered in different ways. What is the way that you administer it, and what have you found to be the most powerful and long-term way?
Yeah, that's a great question because there are so many differences. If you Google ketamine therapy, you're probably going to, the most abundant type of clinic in the US right now is the IV ketamine model. And the IV ketamine model, it is very traditional. It's usually, these clinics are usually owned by like an anesthesiologist, and nurses are running the show most of the day. There's really, in most of them, not all, there are no clinicians with any training in mental health. So it is really using the ketamine as a medicine. It is an IV model, and the IV it kind of hangs you in purgatory. So, over the course of like a 45 or 60-minute session, you're given this steady drip. So the trip kind of goes like this, sort of like dips along, right? And you never go really high, and you don't have that journey. At Field Trip, we do IM, so we do intramuscular injection. So instead of like this, you kind of get the blast off. So it really gives you that true trip, and then you sort of float down. We also have an at-home model, which is more affordable, and for people who aren't close to our clinic here in Santa Monica or other locations, New York, Toronto, Chicago. We have a model where we will mail you oral ketamine. So the oral, sort of the same, not quite as high, but you're still getting that lift. The lift is more gentle. It comes on within 15, 20 minutes versus the IM, it hits you all at once within 2 to 3 minutes. So what's really interesting, I think, the delivery of the medicine allows for these spiritual aha moments, because when you leave yourself, when you leave your body, when your ego dies, and I've had this experience, one of the most fascinating trainings in my career was my husband and I, he's an ER doctor, we did this training together, the Ketamine-Assisted Therapy training. So we're sitting in this room. Actually, we're lying down on the floor for a week. 30 Ph.D.s and M.D.s, and literally the training is just taking ketamine every day and rotating. Like one day you're the patient and I'm the sitter, the therapist, and then we switch places, and just looking around and seeing all of the reactions and seeing how different. What I will say about this medicine, people are like snowflakes. No two people react the same. So if you're somebody who is very on an MMPI, a personality test, if you score very high in neuroticism and you score low on openness to new experience, if you're very, like that very closed off person, we're probably going to start you with a really low dose because, I think the higher or even a medium dose is going to really scare the shit out of you. And we take that into consideration. So we really get people used to it. If you're like, I am somebody like, bring it on. I've had really positive experiences on shrooms when I was in college. I've only had good trips recreationally using psychedelics, and I'm a brave person. I like exploring. I'm not really anxious. And you want to come in and start with like a medium high dose? Sure, great. But we're really assessing. I think I have seen that the best predictor is not your weight. It is really your personality and who you are and your these character traits that people have.
Really feeling into the energy, because it really determines a lot of their experience. And I can see that, and I love that it's personalized in that manner because it makes a difference based on that. When I think about ketamine, I think about I've had some people come into the show, and we've had some conversations and talking about some of the benefits. What are some of the research saying the benefits on mental health? What is the research saying, and then what are you seeing anecdotally in the clinic?
So our research is saying, our internal research, so we have clinics all across North America, Canada, the US. We have one clinic in Amsterdam that's doing psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy. But for the ketamine, across all of our clinics, we are seeing people on a PHQ-9, which is a very standardized assessment for depression. Our average patient is coming to us with severe depression, and after a course of treatment, they're leaving us with mild. So I would say that most of those patients are no longer even meeting diagnostic criteria for being depressed anymore, having depression. And that's what the research in general is saying. It is profound. It is long-lasting, right? So it tends to, without psychotherapy, it'll last once you move to maintenance. So usually there's a stacking of 6 ketamine-assisted psychotherapy sessions with standalone therapy sessions in between. If you do the IV model, and it's like 6 doses of ketamine, no therapy, and then you move to maintenance, it'll only last you a month. So you've got to do, usually on average, I would say the most frequent interval is like 1 a month. When you mix it with psychotherapy, so now you're targeting not just the biological, but the psychological, the social, the spiritual. Our patients are finding that they're lasting on average 4 months. So it's this really incredible integration of therapy, and how do you change your life, and how do you use, when the fog clears, now therapy becomes even more possible. Because, I use a lot of different models. I use these very scientific models like CBT, and assigning people, okay, I want you to do one pleasurable and one productive thing every day. Well, when somebody's in a fog of a deep depressive episode and you tell them to do that, they can't do it. So it's nice to say, okay, now we're going to have this medicine that's going to help you. Now I'm going to give you the same assignment. Now you can do it. So the medicine lights the fire, but your lifestyle, your diet, your exercise, it keeps the fire burning. And if we can have that symbiotic relationship, what's interesting, the way mental health has really changed. It used to be you would get your therapy from your prescriber. That was like, I don't know, parents, grandparents' generation. Now in America, it's like most people are getting their meds from somebody. A lot of these people don't offer psychotherapy because you're seeing like the family medicine nurse practitioner, which is fine, but the therapy is not built in. So now, and then a lot of people, it's like therapy is time consuming. There's a lot of effort required. There's a lot of vulnerability required. So now a lot of people are doing the medicine without the therapy. And what I love about our model is that we're bringing all these practitioners I was telling you before, like Field Trip, we have NDs and MDs and PhDs, and we have all these different these practitioners wrapping around our patients to really help them. Which is really cool. It's sort of a return to the model of mental health in the 50s, where it was more integrated.
Yeah, true functional, right?
Yes.
Functional, integrative, the way that we should be approaching mental health, because, there's different factors, right? It's multifaceted. It's not just come in and you have this, neurotransmitter imbalance in your brain. It's what are you eating? What are your connections? What's your community? How's your gut health? How's your brain health?
Yeah.
Right? Are you moving? So all of these things are really important. So we often hear the average adult should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. That's not always possible. More and more people are forced to make lifestyle changes to get more deep sleep. The good news is that research has shown that quality matters just as much as quantity. So what exactly is deep sleep and how do we achieve this? Now, the first half of your night is deep sleep. That's the window when things start to drop, like your heart rate, your breathing, your blood pressure, your muscle activity, and your temperature. Since that temperature drop is a crucial aspect of deep sleep, finding ways to activate that sleep switch can help increase your levels of deep sleep. This is where Chili Sleep comes in. Chili Sleep makes a customizable, climate-controlled sleep solution to help you improve your overall well-being. They make the Doc Pro, the Uller, the Cube sleep systems, and they're hydro-powered, temperature-controlled mattress toppers that fit on your existing mattress to provide ideal sleep temperatures. These luxury mattress pads keep your bed at the perfect temperature for deep sleep, whether you sleep hot or you have a propensity to be cold. The sleep systems are designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and give you the confidence and energy to power through your day. Imagine waking up and not feeling tired. What a luxury that is, but it's something that we all deserve. Chili Sleep can make that happen. Ever since I've gotten the Chili Sleep, I have not been sweating in my bed at all. It is a lifesaver that I'm recommending to every single person that says they are disrupted with their sleep. Temperature gets us in a deep state of sleep. We want to be nice and cool. So make sure you head over to chilisleep.com/DRG to learn more and save 30% off of your purchase of any sleep system. The offer is available exclusively for you, the Heal Thyself listener, and only for a limited time. Again, that's Chili, CHILI, sleep.com/DRG to take advantage of our exclusive discount and wake up refreshed every single day. Magnesium is one of the supplements that I recommend to people all the time. We are severely depleted. 50 to 75% of us are not getting enough magnesium. Ned's Mellow Magnesium is one of my favorite go-to magnesiums. It's in a satchel. I pour it into water, mix it up. The magnesium is mixed with amino acids and trace minerals. Because magnesium is so important in our biology, taking Mellow can help propel your memory, your mood, your brain function, your stress response, nerve and muscle health, and sleep. So with Ned's Mellow Magnesium, I'm experiencing better sleep, less stress, less inflammation after the gym for sure, and less pain anytime I injure myself. So sleeping better from taking Mellow Magnesium has been a game changer. I'm waking up every single day feeling rested, which helps me get a lot of the tasks done that I really need to during the day. Ned's products are full of premium CBD and a full spectrum of active cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, and trichomes. Ned's full spectrum hemp oil nourishes the body's endocannabinoid system to offer functional support for stress, sleep, inflammation, and balance. Ned CBD is cold extracted from the world's purest USDA-certified organic hemp in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. They're fully transparent. They have all their third-party testing on the website. You can check it out yourself. You can even see the extraction process right there on the website. So to become the best version of yourself, get 15% off of Ned's products with the code DRG. Go to helloned.com/DRG, enter the code DRG at checkout. That's HELLONED.com/DRG. You're going to get 15% off. Thank you, Ned, for sponsoring the show and offering our listeners a natural remedy for some of life's most common health issues. Aside from the ketamine, what have you found to be some of the factors that really help this last really long? Like what are some like 2 or 3 factors that are truly letting this, if you set this ketamine ship to sail of healing, what keeps it going? What keeps the motor going?
Great question. I think one of the best factors is your openness and your vulnerability. So if you really trust the process and you lean into it and you use every session as an opportunity to open and grow, those people have incredible results, like life-changing, different path, just different outcomes in their lives. Open yourself up to the spiritual capacity. I mean, I've had a lot of people who communicate with relatives who are past and angels, or this sense that all is one, or that we're all connected. And however you interpret that, whether you believe that that is just something that is a side effect of a medicine, or if you believe that you're actually communicating with angels, that's up to you. But lean into it, because we are spiritual, social creatures. I think the other people that benefit, the other factor is what you just said, it's the gut health. It's how are you able to do anything it takes in every area of your life? I don't think it's just an integration between like the prescriber and the therapist. I think it's people like you, the NDs, the functional medicine practitioners, in terms of the model that I work from. It is looking at all these things because they're all so related, right? Like if you have a high HSCRP and there's systemic inflammation, the ketamine is going to bring that down. But if you go back to the standard American diet, your inflammation, all those industrial oils and too many omega-6s is just going to cause more inflammation. It's undoing the process. Or if you're not exercising, if you're not getting enough blood flow and you're not supporting, ketamine is going to blast your BDNF. But you can keep it going by exercising and intermittent fasting, right? So I think the people who are very holistic and very integrated, those people do really, really, really well. And those are the people that, after the initial series, they come back once a quarter and their lives change. But it's not just the medicine, right? The medicine is, again, it just lights the fire for you.
Yeah, that's the best way to think about it. Right, and you're the one who's fanning the fire, keeping it going, keeping it spreading. So it's up to us. And what I'm motivated by is a lot of the time, like we were talking about, ketamine is a little more alternative for people to go, whoa, this isn't in like the conventional allopathic model that we're going. Your family doctor's going, have you ever heard of ketamine?
Right.
So those folks hopefully are already more open to the alternative way of just not going to the doctor, getting a medication, going home, and going back to their standard American diet, for example.
Yeah.
Talking and switching gears a little bit to mental health as a whole, why are we suffering so much with our mental health? Was it COVID? Is it the food that we're eating? Is it environmental toxins? What's the culmination? Because man, when I was in school, it was like we were talking about it, but after school for the past 5 years, it's been really in the forefront of like, whoa, no, this is actually one of the most important, if not the most important thing.
Yeah.
What's happening in America and in the world?
I think a lot of it has to do with our modern lifestyle. And, I think a lot of the dietary principles of, let's say, the paleo diet or the Mediterranean diet. And you look at these cultures that had support and community built in. And then you look at COVID and how we're already this very individualistic culture as Americans. And then COVID just made it worse. So we're moving away from that. The natural order of whole foods versus processed foods. COVID was like, well, stock up on the frozen pizza, right? And eat your tombstone pepperoni. It's like, so we're moving away from the whole foods. We're moving away from just the built-in support that people had, even, therapy, hundreds of years ago or 1,000 years ago, therapy was something that just happened organically in your community. Right? From, sometimes it was a religious leader or people in your family. And now, of course, it's a profession, which is great. But it's almost, when you think about it, it's necessary. Like, who doesn't need support? Who doesn't need to get to know themselves better? Who doesn't need to examine who they are and why they are the way that they are? To have the insight that allows change to be possible. So I think if you just look at the way, and we can trace the microbiome from people who, live in cities and the standard American diet and what that does and increasing dysbiosis and all those things sort of support that. And I think the mental health is just another component of that.
I see what you're saying. And it makes sense because all that has shifted and worsened very much so recently.
Yeah.
For me, right after COVID, I found the importance, and I started really researching on community, right? And social isolation, because we were in the middle of it. I go, what's all this doing to our brain health? And to see how important community plays a role. And understanding that that's hardwired into our DNA to be in community, right? To, through relativity, understand ourselves better, the depth of who we are. To have wisdom about, oh no, this over the years has proven true for me. And does this resonate with you? We lost that. We're learning that maybe on YouTube, right? But like, we don't have that human connection. Do you think, and I always wonder this, and I like asking every now and then my guests, that cell phones and electronics are playing a role with this? Is it playing a role at worsening or bettering our mental health?
Oh, worsening for sure.
Yeah.
I always say, it's so ironic because social media is making most people antisocial, right? I mean, I remember when Facebook was only designed for college students. So it was like, there was a time when social media helped us to connect more, to say like, oh, here's this guy from my class and, he moved to DC and now I'm in DC and I'm going to connect with him.
Yeah.
We're not using it like that anymore. We're literally just looking at other people's photos. So, I mean, if you ask yourself that question, is social media making me more antisocial? Then change the way you use it and use these behavioral triggers and create the systems. Social media is not on the first page of on my iPhone, and I have to say it has made a significant difference. Because I think if we just realize that we're all lazy and the human brain, because there's only so much the conscious mind can hold, it has to, a lot of the things that we do just sort of go on automatic. So when you pick up the iPhone, your brain is naturally going to travel along the path of least resistance, right? So it's going to naturally fall into like, well, what's on the first page?
Yeah.
So when you look at things like, well, if I put my water bottle here, what does that do to help me to drink more water? If I always go to the gym and I create a routine that I always have my clothes in the back of my car so that I can hit the gym on the way home from work, because otherwise I skip the gym.
Right.
You sort of create these rituals. And sort of a side note, maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but I can tell you that from my own psychedelic therapy experiences, you're asking about community, and it's like when you have this sense, this like awe and wonder, which by the way is like when I watch people on ketamine, I would say then let me do an impression for you. Like this is the most common facial expression. It's like this awe and wonder.
Right.
And you feel so connected with all living beings. And when that is true, you realize that all the things that your ego does to make you feel separate, like judging other people and all the defenses we use, we project our shadows onto other people. We don't like that person. We personalize and we feel bad about ourselves. It's when you look at it and when you really think about those defenses, most of those defenses are rooted in this is me and that's you. And I want something, and if you take it, it's going to maybe come into conflict with me getting that.
Right.
When really, I would say that psychedelics help us to connect with like that community in that sense that all is one. And if you're doing great, that's only going to help the world. If you're carrying this torch of health and wellness and communicating that, that's only going to help me, not hurt me, right? So some of that competitive nature or the personalization or the catastrophic thinking or the paralysis by analysis, if we can put away those defenses, we can move about this world in a more connected way.
And coming back to our true nature, right?
Yes.
Moving back in a connected way, understanding we're not separate and just being, right? Like coming back to a being. That the ketamine face I've seen in many psychedelic ceremonies. Like I'll turn to my right, I'll be like, oh shoot, my friend is realizing everything about the world and all the secrets of the universe in 1 second. And I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, wait, me too. Here we go. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, we are this. I'll go, oh, Jupiter,
Yes.
Yeah, but I know that exact moment very, very, very well. All right, so we got a few comments, a few DMs about where this couch is from that I'm sitting on. It is an all-form couch by Helix. This is Birch's sister brand of sofas and chairs that are American-made and easy to assemble. Now, I just moved into a new place, and I got myself one of these couches too. They're modular, they can customize and work well in any single space. They're scratch and stain resistant and really comfortable. Now, you heard me talk about Birch and how much I love my mattress, and the all-form couch here at the studio has been amazing. We have a lot of people talking about how comfortable it is and how beautiful it is. Now more than ever, we're home a lot, so it's important to make the most of your time at home, whether you're working from home, reading, playing with your kids. No matter how you spend your downtime, your sofa is an integral part of your home, which is why I was super excited to partner with Allform. Now, what I like most about getting the Allform sofa was how well the sofa matched and fit into this space here at the studio and now in my home. I also really love, and you can go on the website and check it out, that these couches are non-toxic. So you're not going to be exposing yourself to all those volatile organic compounds that are in traditional couches that are there for the life of the couch. So really, really important, because your couch and your bed are two of the major things that are going to be exposing you to chemicals in your home. Because Allform ships direct to consumer, they're able to use really premium materials at a reasonable price. It's easy to buy online. Shipping is fast, shipping is free, so you're not waiting around forever for a delivery. The best part of all this is Allform delivers your couch right to your door for free. Allform has a 100-day trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure you love it. If you don't, they'll pick it up and get it from you for a full refund. I love my Allform couch, and I think you will too. If you're looking for some new seating, check out Allform. Visit the link below or go to allform.com. That's ALLFORM.com/heal thyself to get 20% off right now any sofa of your choice. So understanding just how important ketamine is to our mental health is, for me, one of the top talking points that I've talked about on this show, because it's like, whoa, this is something that is accessible. Or is it? How accessible is ketamine to every single person now? Now that we're moving to a place where, this helps, people are sick with mental health.
Yeah.
How is it accessible?
Yeah.
I'm always curious to ask this question.
It's probably the biggest barrier, right? So it's one of the reasons why we launched the field trip at home model. It is obviously much more affordable for people who cannot afford the in-clinic model. When you're in the clinic, you have everybody at Field Trip, all your practitioners, we all have licenses. So you're working with advanced healthcare professionals. We all have to carry our own malpractice insurance. We have this beautiful space that kind of has this vibe, right? Like a lot of greenery. It feels like a spa because set and setting is so important for a psychedelic journey. But it's also, of course, very expensive to have multiple healthcare practitioners wrapping around you, and you're there not for 50 minutes, you're there for hours. You're there for like sometimes half your day, right? So obviously that part is very expensive. The field trip at home model is more affordable. We are lobbying, and we've had some success. So I know in Canada, there are certain populations, and I'm not that familiar with the Canadian healthcare system, but I know that we have some pay for certain groups in Canada. We are working on it. So we are lobbying all the time to get this covered. We are now, we've done some outreach, not just to insurance companies, but actually the employers. Like if we could get a big group like, I don't know, Amazon or somebody to cover this, that would be life-changing. We're also working, I'm helping to spearhead this. We're trying to partner or form some sort of like a nonprofit to make it more affordable. The at-home cuts the cost significantly down. It'll save people thousands of dollars. And we also know that, interestingly, there is another form of ketamine we haven't talked about that is covered by insurance. So what Big Pharma did, because ketamine has been around since, I think the year is 59 or 60, it's, of course, no longer patentable. So they have a new form of ketamine that is a very, very weak form of ketamine, but then you have to take it in a doctor's office every week. So that one, insurance companies are starting to pay for. So I think if insurance companies are paying for the Big Pharma patented solution ketamine, I'm hoping that they will eventually start to cover at least part of this. Because we are all licensed, so insurance companies will not reimburse for the ketamine, but I give the people that I work with a super bill for my time. So so sometimes people may be able to get $100 a session back directly from their insurance company, so that helps a little bit too.
I see. Yeah. So the accessibility is, there's things being put to practice to really help it become more accessible for people, because how many people are suffering with mental health and going, what do I do? All I have is this prescription in my bathroom, that is really not helping.
Yeah. And sometimes it helps, but one of the most common things I hear is it will cut off the lows at the expense of the highs. So it's sort of like just lopping off like your worst moments, but sort of also your best moments too. It's just sort of like your range goes from like here to like, you kind of like live here. And for some people, that trade-off is worth it. And some people don't have as much blunting or emotional numbing as others. So if you found a medication that works for you and all you can afford is that $10 copay per month for that SSRI, I'm not going to say take that away from you. And we have a lot of people who stay on their medication. So unlike other psychedelics, this is the other good thing. Ketamine works with medication. So there are a lot of psychedelics you can't be on an SSRI because they are targeting the serotonin system. Because ketamine is not targeting that system, you can stay on an SSRI, and ketamine plus an SSRI, they will work synergistically. So
wonderful.
it is a massive effect. For other people, it can replace or be an alternative. So we are very open-minded. We are not staunchly anti-medication. We're really meeting people where they're at.
And I don't think it can be taken lightly, because you had mentioned it can help with suicidality, right? And if someone's suicidal, it can be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And how many visits? In just one visit, you can see that someone changes from suicidal ideations to
just one.
Just one visit.
So the caveat with just one, the reason why we stack the doses, you're probably going to get a response within 4 hours, but it's probably only going to last 24 hours.
I see.
That's why we do the stacking. So we usually stack between 2 and 5 days apart for the first 6 sessions. So after the first session, you're going to feel like right away you're going to feel better, which for people in a depressive episode or with PTSD or OCD or eating disorders, we can use it for all these diagnoses. There is rapid relief, but then it only lasts 24 hours. So then 2 days later, you come back. Now it's going to last 48. By dose 3, it'll usually last like a week. By the time we get to 4, 5, 6, and then you have therapy in between, and you're with your therapist, because a lot of people open up during the session. Some people are very quiet in the medicine session, but then sort of talk a lot on the other side when they're coming out. By the time you get to session 6, and you've had about 4 standalone psychotherapy sessions also, so you're looking at 10 sessions approximately with and without medicine, now you've changed your life. Now that effect is lasting you like 4 months, 3 months, 4 months.
Makes sense why it's stacked like that.
So then it's cost effective, right? It's very expensive to start, but then, then you're looking at, somewhere around, it differs from clinic to clinic, but let's say ballpark $700 to $800 a pop. So when you stack them, that's very expensive. But if you're paying $800 a pop every quarter, then all of a sudden it starts to feel more affordable.
Yeah, and you think of without this model here and just going to traditional therapy every single week for years on end, we have to think about what's happening on the forefront versus just long-term over time. A lot of people don't think like that.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Look, I'm always in awe of the power of ketamine.
Yeah.
I've done it, and it's been so powerful in reframing some thought processes in my head, right? So I'll just be sitting there and I'll be like, oh, that makes sense. Why do I do that? I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I should do it this way.
Yeah.
Duh, why didn't I think of that? And I was like, why? I was like, why? Oh, yeah, I'm on ketamine. It's like, that makes sense now. So I felt the reframing. I felt the new thought processes coming on. And that was a moment I was like, whoa, this is real stuff. Because when I think about depression, people are in that loop and they're in a hole and they don't have any way to get out of the hole. And this is showing you that there's a ladder, right? Or a step stool. And you're like, duh, why can't I use this? You know? So it's a beautiful process. Is there anything in your heart that you really want to put out there before we start wrapping up?
I would say that I often give the people that I work with the deathbed question, right? And it's like, when you're on your deathbed, like, what are you going to regret, right? And what do you wish that you're going to be remembered for? And it's just live that life. Don't make excuses, right? Like for me, I think the psychedelic assisted therapy, we have a rescue dog. And my partner and I, we really were passionate. I had this, the love of, like my first soulmate was my dog, who just passed away this past year. And that was just like one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with. And so I had this thought, and I thought, I really want to foster from the rescue that I got my first dog from, Rocco, this little rescue from South Central. And it was always one of those things, I'm like, well, we're both so busy, my husband works nights in the ER. I'm like always going to the ketamine clinic here in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
I'm like there all day, every day. It's gonna be too hard. I'm just gonna wait. And we didn't wait. So we fostered a dog and we found a home. And for us, that was like our That was like our heart, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's, for me, the deathbed question is like, we always had this fantasy of like, well, when we're like 65 and retired, then we're gonna start doing good for the world and do what we really wanna do. Don't wait, right?
Right.
So make it work. So if psychedelic assisted therapy can help you to connect with whatever that thing is for you, like for me, it's, I love animals. And if I can help like an animal find a forever home, we dropped this little rescue off Jack. It was via social media. So it was the woman who owns our wedding venue. Her mom saw this little foster on social media. So for me, it's like, how incredible that this place that's so filled with love for us ended up being where we found love for this little
Beautiful.
incredible animal. So just do that every day, because that right there, that for any person, that's the ultimate antidote for mental illness, right? It's not like, okay, well, if I just exercise, that's good, but that's still a little surfacey. Like, just go right to the root. Like, what is going to bring, like me right now, what is going to bring tears to your eyes? Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that now.
Do it
as
now.
best you can, right?
Yeah, sometimes that's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scared for that. It's so vulnerable sometimes, and we make all the excuses to get so deep and do the things.
Yeah.
And we know, it's funny, when we do these psychedelics, we know what we should and could be doing. We already know it.
Yeah.
It's just all of these excuses, like you said. How about when we retire?
Right.
That'll be fine. Or,
Right.
you know, oh God, I'm always going into work. It would not be fair for the dog.
Yeah.
You just find a way to do it.
Make it work.
And I love that. How do people find you?
My social media, I'm at Dr. Mike Dow, DrMikeDow on all platforms, except for Twitter, Doctor spelled out. On my website, Dr. Mike Dow, or they can learn more about Field Trip at fieldtriphealth.com.
And books?
Yeah, so my 8th book is coming out in 2023. It's called The Ketamine Revolution.
Okay.
Yeah, and my last one is called The Sugar Brain Fix.
And go look it up, man. This guy's popping out the books, and they're awesome. So watch it, go get it, read it, hear it, however you need to. All the love. Thank you for coming here, spilling your heart on your passions.
Yeah.
We feel it. I feel it.
Yeah.
And all the blessings to you, man.
Honored to be here. Thank you.